The content of this channel is for mature audiences. Parental discretion is advised. You're tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel. Please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell notification button. And please, feel free to share the video. Thank you. What's good, everybody? I'm the G with a PhD, and you're tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel. The place where black men can express themselves freely, straight up, no chasers. Before I get things started, I want to give a shout out to all of the members of the Green Gorilla channel. I want to give a shout out to Lidge Terrell, Rogish the Buildmonger, Michael Ross, Gregory Oliver, Darkside Excellence, Greg, Raiz Muajid, Dornell Smith, Antonio Feria, Papa Didas, Very Little, Brotherly Love 215, Alan Wiley, Mr. Valentino, Jason Hales, The Final Watcher, Black Men Being Brutally Honest, 77 Base X, Craig, Omni Americana, Cameron 87, Deshaun Nolly, Brian Peaks, Nelso, Apex Prowler, Kareen Henry, Doc LaRock, Julius Ferguson, B. Hillfire, J. Charles, Mark Holt, Lee Ways, Jeffrey Speed, The Face, Mark Swift, Show Me, Black Dog, Odd Collard, Raphael Brown, Deanne, Donald Watts, Cozy Corner, hiphop.catv, Coach DC, The Remedy, Kashif Caldwell, Ominous Black, I Am Black Man, Nichita, True King 337, Mr. Blue Collar, Barnolas, Kyle J. Sura, I'm Just Jules, Ab Media 83, Brian McMurray, TD Hip Hop Media, Drew Main, Artisan MC, Mr. Heat, Afro Analyst, Issa Abdul Zahir, Sir Anthony, MLR, Charles Rogers, Universal 178, Black Swerve 404, Rashid Barnes, Aaron Smith, DH, See Truth the Revelator, Gold Professor, Arthur Unknown, Dr. Tiasan Johnson, Brian Williams, Kalan Chakala, Ricky Dawson, Cedric Bowman, True 7360, BK Born Shahid, James Washington, Hostile Adeb, Seven Coast Dojo, W Pure 1, BGS Ibmore, Marvin Battle Jr., and I cannot forget my brother in heaven, Force Windu. And on the Patreon side, I'd like to give a shout out to all of the good men who support me there and who keep the boat afloat. For some reason, I'm having difficulty pulling that up, but I'm about to pull it up because I'm not going to allow you to go unacknowledged. Can't do that. I cannot, in good conscience, allow you to go unacknowledged. So I want to give a shout out to Dornell Smith, Chris York, Excalibur, Jason Warren, Soul Pen, Anu 219, Pursuer Prisoner, Taz, Kwaku 217, S. Haywood, Dragon 59, Supreme Ibmore, Adrian Hicks, Jay Bailey, Mr. Michi, Mo Mal, and Asangwa. Shout out to all of y'all, man. And thank you so much for your ongoing help and your support. You all deserve a round of applause. Y'all get my highest honors, and that is honest. Shout out to y'all, man. I want to give a shout out to Char. Hey, how you doing, Just Ask Char? What's going on? I want to give a shout out to Toya, Extended Clips. Thank you so much, Apex Prowler, for the donation. Appreciate that. Put that on the screen right quick. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Mark Swift, shout out to you. Ian Graves, I see you out there. And all of the other people. Raphael Brown, I see you. Vereen 70. Herb Saint, I see you. Black Rock, I see you. Jeff R, I see you. Trouble Man, see you. Lee Rittenauer, I see you. And Barry Little, I see you as well. Adam Williams, J3. So at any rate, man, I just want to give a shout out to y'all, man. Thank you so much for helping me keep this thing going and supporting me for a little bit over a year. I appreciate y'all, man. Thank you. And if you are inquiring about how you can become a member of the Green Gorilla channel, well, here's how you do it. What's good, everybody? I'm the G with a PhD, and you're tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel, the place where black men can express themselves freely, straight up, no chaser. Today, I want to introduce you to my new membership program that consists of 5 levels where you can invest in the Green Gorilla channel on a monthly basis and receive level-specific perks. Memberships are special because they improve the quality of the content of the channel and will help me to be able to keep the channel going. Now, to participate in the Green Gorilla channel membership program, all you have to do is hit the join button, which is located right next to the subscribe button on my channel page. Now, for all of my subscribers who decide not to participate in my membership program, nothing will change. The content will keep coming the way it always has. Thanks for watching, and be careful out here, people. Bless. All right, man, I'm back. And of course, I think you know where you are. You're tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel. It's the place where black men get to express themselves freely, straight up with no chasers. And so today I want to do a show related to a video that I saw recently put out by BGS. And I think Dennis Sperling covered this. I think also there was several panels related to this subject matter about black men not really being conquered as much as being bred. Black women as well, all black people subjected to slavery, were not necessarily conquered militarily, but they were bred to be cattle, sheep, chickens. In the same way that a farmer would reproduce those animals and organisms, we were produced in order to perform labor on the plantation. This is just the truth. It can't be disputed. These are the facts. But the facts are even more ghastly than that. Because if it was just a simple process of reproduction, then it might have, to some degree, have been tolerable. But it was deeper than that. It was more ghastly and grisly than that. Black people on these plantations were subjected to absolute forms of terror and domination. And in addition to physical labor, black people were entertainment. We were bodies that were turned into sex slaves. At any moment, for any reason, indiscriminately, we could be called upon to engage in sexual acts at the whimsy of the people who subjugated us. This is just the facts. These are the facts, man. And, I'm going to share the screen. And I'm going to detail to you at least one article. I just got the article today, okay? And this is a story that often is not told. Now, this article was published in September 2011, so it's over a decade old, okay? And the title of it is The Sexual Abuse of Black Men Under American Slavery. It's written by Thomas Foster, who works at DePaul University. It was, published, this journal is by the University of Texas Press, but he's an individual who works at DePaul University, okay? So I'm pretty sure you can see this. All right. Now, let me just say this before I even start, man. Oftentimes when we talk about sexual abuse, we talk about sexual violation, we only talk about women and how they were raped during slavery. But it's important for people to know, it's important for people to understand that it's deeper than that. And you could talk about buck breaking. I know there's a new documentary out right now. Even Dr. Johnson is in this documentary. Shout out to Dr. Johnson. But it's deeper than just intimidation, utilizing sexual violence as a means by which to control a population. In fact, at any moment, everyone who was a slave, male and female, boys and girls alike, were subjected to sexual violence. Men no less than women, children no less than adults. These are the facts. Because, absolute power corrupts absolutely. These are just the facts. And so this is not going to be titillating or exciting. I'm not going to yell and scream unless I get upset to the point where I feel like I want to. But I just want to be sober-minded about this and just explain to you the realities. And if we have an understanding of the realities, we'll have an understanding about why we behave the way we do now, because there's interconnections between the past and the present. And I saw also the video that BGS put together that detailed the nameless protagonist's ideas about this, and I think he's correct about it. These practices are still carried over with us in the way we act and interact with one another as men and women today. This is the truth. I see evidence of it all day, every day. But I just want to read to you the first 2 pages of this article. And then I'll open up the floor for dialogue. If BGS is in here somewhere, maybe he can come in and weigh in and give his opinion. Maybe not. He might not be here. But whatever the case may be, I'll open up the floor for anybody to come in and have a discussion about this issue. Because it's deeper than just procreation. We're talking about arbitrary domination of black men and women and children to the sexual desires, depraved as they may have been, of any property owner of slaves. It is what it is. But these kind of stories aren't really told. They're kind of like swept under the rug. They're hidden. They're left out of view. But I don't think that does us any good. It doesn't do white culture any good, especially if there is ever going to be a reconciliation or a reparation. which I don't see in the near future. I personally don't see it, but that's just my opinion. So anyway, let me get right to this. And some of the words that are used here, I don't agree with. The article starts off as follows. In 1787, some 11 years after the country was founded, the United States, an enslaved man in Maryland raped a free black woman. Now, the reason I have issue with this word raped a free black woman is because of the connotations, the context of the word and the baggage that comes along with the word. But you'll see why. The story comes to us from the female victim in the incident, who goes by the name of Elizabeth Amwood. One white man, William Holland, had her pull up her clothes and lie down. He then called a Negro man slave and ordered him to pull down his breeches and get upon the said Amwood and to be great with her. Now just imagine somebody arbitrarily calling you. You might be picking cotton. You might be doing some other kind of servile or menial work. And arbitrarily you're called upon to become aroused in front of other people and to engage in a sexual act. Not only was Miss Amwood raped, but also this unnamed enslaved man was raped. And that's what gets lost in that first sentence. Because if somebody is forced under stress and duress to do something, then the culpability for that action is removed. If someone says, because they have your family duct tied and taped in a basement, you better go kill X. And if you don't, I'm going to kill your family. You may have killed those people, but ultimately the responsibility lies predominantly in the hands of the person who has your family duct taped and tied in a basement. But, I don't want to move too far away from this. So, a fourth individual in this horrific scene, a white man named John Pettigrew, operating with Holland, pointed a pistol at the unnamed enslaved man and Elizabeth Amwood. So they have pistols to both of them. All the while, Holland taunted them both, asking if it was in, if it was sweet. Afterward, William went up into the company and called for water to wash his hand. Because apparently, if he's washing his hand, he's in sexual contact. He's in contact with these people's genitals. Anyway, afterward, he went up into the company, called for water to wash his hand, saying he had been putting a mare to a horse, in reference to those people. And then, Foster goes on with his own commentary. Scholars have suggested that rape can serve as a metaphor for enslavement, thus applying to both men and women who were enslaved. As Aliyah Abdul Rahman argues, the vulnerability of all enslaved black persons to nearly every conceivable violation produced a collective raped subjectivity. The standard scholarly interpretation of how slavery affected black manhood is perhaps best captured by the comments of one former slave, Lewis Clark, who declared that a slave can't be a man because he cannot protect his female kin from being sexually assaulted by owners and overseers. Clark's concern, the rape and sexual assault of black women and girls, has been well documented by the historical record. So we know about this. Thelma Jennings and others have analyzed the literal sexual assault of enslaved women in a range of contexts. So we talk about this when it comes to women who are enslaved. The physical abuse and sexual abuse of women and girls under slavery range from acts of punishment. So if you did something that the slave owner didn't like, to punish you, they'll have sex with you. Expressions of desire, they like you, they'll have sex with you. To force you to reproduce, they'll have sex with you. So it's deeper than just breeding. This is a form of social control and depravity unparalleled. So it's reproduction, concubinage, punishment, and just sexual desire in general. So slavery violated the masculinity of black men who were denied the ability to protect vulnerable female dependents. According to Deborah Gray White, those who tried to protect their spouses were themselves abused. So if you try to protect your wife, you would end up being raped and sexually assaulted or beaten till you're damn near dead. This is what we're talking about. The emasculating psychic toll, White further argued, could have led men to eschew monogamy or to resist marriage altogether. So this had a deleterious effect on the natural relationships that would have ensued with a group of people who are just naturally interacting with one another on their own terms. There's bound to be pathology between black men and women related to this phenomena that persists. Anyway, the rape of Elizabeth Ann Wood reveals that black manhood under slavery was violated in other ways that are less easily spoken of then and now, namely the sexual exploitation of enslaved men. The historical sexual assault of men and boys is well known, if mostly unarticulated. The scholarship on early America shows us numerous instances of rape and sexual assault of men and boys. Ramon Gutierrez has argued that individuals of the Native American third sex, or Bradaques, were frequently prisoners of war, used for sex, and emasculated. Oftentimes, the evidence that there was two souls or two spirits or, gay Native Americans was cited as evidence that, that how liberal and how, sexually emancipatory their society or culture was. But a lot of this in part could have been an expression of the depravity of colonial settlers. But to say that, of course, is, to be, deprecating against the LGBTQ community. But, I digress. We also know through the handful of extant sodomy cases. So there were sodomy cases that people brought against slave owners and overseers, because sodomy was illegal if you were a slave owner or not, but they did it anyway. So the 17th century Connecticut gentleman Nicholas Simpson, for example, sexually preyed on his male servants. Virtually all of the cases of sodomy that came to the courts in early America involved individuals violating status boundaries, instructors on students, masters on servants, none involved peers. So this sexual dynamic of sodomy typically deals with power imbalances. These sodomy cases in most instances are cases where someone has absolute power over someone else. And so they rape them or sexually assault them in order to demonstrate how much power they have over and above you. So in the context of slavery, and this is the last paragraph or the last page I'm going to read of this. In the context of slavery, literary scholars have shown that sexual abuse of men was part of the Spanish slave system in Cuba, which more slaves went to Cuba than came to the U.S., by the way, just to let you know. Okay? Robert Richmond Ellis argues that the account of former slave Juan Francisco Manzano has commonly been regarded as a searing indictment of a physical mistreatment of slaves, but can also be read as a silent testimony to the kinds of abuse largely unacknowledged by historians of slavery and critics of slave narratives, the sexual violation of male slaves. As Ellis points out, the topic is largely gone unexplored for a wide variety of reasons, including the obvious barrier of the historical record in that male victims of slave rape left behind no biological record in the form of offspring, as well as the prevalent homophobia in traditional Latin American societies, which would have prevented men from telling their stories, given that male sexual passivity was particularly stigmatized insofar as it was seen as entailing a loss of masculinity. This article uses a wide range of sources on slavery, early American newspapers, court records, slave owners' journals, abolitionist literature, and the testimony of former slaves themselves collected in autobiographies and in interviews to argue that enslaved black men were sexually assaulted by both, and this is important to understand, white men and white women. I don't know how they get left out. They always talk about how they were subjected to oppression and how they were, dominated by white men. But, when it comes to slavery, these people, man, they were having a funky good time. They had absolute control over other human beings. But now they're the largest group of persons who are deemed to be the most oppressed and in need of diversity and inclusion policies and institutions to help them get further ahead. Now, I don't know how or why, but, that's just where we are now. Okay? It finds that sexual assault of enslaved men took a wide variety of forms, including outright physical penetrative assault, forced reproduction, sexual coercion and manipulation, and psychic abuse. That's important to understand. Outright penetration, forced reproduction, sexual coercion, manipulation, and psychic abuse. That's a lot going on, man, for people to have to deal with. Your sexual identity, people, when they go to the restroom, they hide their genitals from other persons, mostly. But you got to bear it all to the white massa and the overseers and the mistress. It is difficult to determine with certainty the prevalence of the sexual abuse of male slaves. Martha Holds concludes that the sexual coercion of black men in antebellum America lurked as a possibility regardless of how frequently it came to pass. And that's the important thing right there. Doesn't matter if you got sodomized or not. The threat that you could be sodomized was always looming over your head like the sword of Damocles. It was always imminent as a threat to your dignity, your identity. So it wasn't just reproduction, although that's an important component to understand and to get and to acknowledge. But this sexual perversion that took place in the context of slavery, it still to some degree exists within the context of our culture today. And the question is, what can we do about it? How do we begin to have open and honest conversations about it and not elide into finger pointing, into the oppression Olympics, but just an honest acknowledgement of objective and impartial reality pertaining to these matters so that we can actually begin to heal from it. But one-sided narratives where only women get acknowledged for having undergone these atrocities and men not acknowledged as having undergone them at all, or being blamed or shamed for having undergone these atrocities, is something that we shouldn't be doing to each other. You see the Jews doing this to each other? You don't see it. And this is something BGS pointed out. You don't see Native Americans doing this to each other. We're the only ones that do this. There's something seriously fucked up about us. And we need to find out how to remedy that shit. We need to find out what to do about this shit here, man. Because the conversations we're having right now, it ain't working, yo. It ain't popping. So I'm going to take a quick break. And then I'm going to invite y'all in to chat with me and to get your opinions about this shit. Thank you, Grinch. I see you, man, with the donation, my brother. I need to acknowledge you. I have my head buried in the sand. But thank you, sir. I appreciate that. So I'm going to take a quick commercial break. And when I come back, man, I'm going to invite y'all to speak on this with me. Because this is a serious issue, man. You know? And I think we're going about it. I think that contemporary intersectional politics prevents this discussion from actually being had in the open. And to talk about how it has impacted and affected our relationships and our family structures. So I'll be back in 1 second, man. Come join me, man. Have a conversation with your boy about this. I'll holler at you. I'll be back in a second. That's the wrong screen. I'll be right back. Yeah, okay, so I shouldn't be muted anymore, man. I apologize if I was muted. You should be able to hear me now. I see that there's a brother by the name of Night Show the Trucker. He's trying to come in. You should be able to hear me now. I apologize for being muted. But anyway, I wanted to share with you so right now your device is not connected, so I can't let you in. But as soon as you get that straight, I'll let you in. But I wanted to give you another account by a novel by the name of Property, which was written in 1828, or at least published in 1828. And look at this description of what occurred. So the first person narrator of this this tale, this story, property, right? Monet Godet is looking through a spyglass as her husband terrorizes a group of 5 young male slaves. Their description as boys would not normally be a good indication of their age, given the inconsistently applied custom of referring to all black men as boy. But since Manning also remarks that he's no match for this grown man with his stick, it seems safe to conclude that these are adolescents. The scene is ongoing as the text begins, or perhaps self-conscious correspondence to the Edenic ideology of gender, which is still ongoing even in this novel written so many years after another one called Incidents. Gaudet, the owner of the plantation, has devised a game which is designed to compel one of the boys to become visibly aroused despite his familiarity with his owner's perverted amusements. So this is what is accounted for. He gets them all gathered at the river's edge, and they're nervous. If they haven't done this before, they've heard about it. First, he reads to them from the Bible. Then they have to strip naked, which takes no time as they're only wearing linen pantaloons. One by one, they must grasp the rope, swing over the water, and drop in. It's brutally hot. The cool water is a relief, so they make the best of it. He encourages them to shout and slap at one another once they're in the water. Then they have to come out and do it again. Only this time, they hang on the rope 2 at a time, which means one has to hold on to the other. They have to keep doing this, their lithe bodies displayed to him in various positions. When he gets them up to 3 or 4 at a time, he watches closely. The boys rub against each other. They can't help it. Their limbs become entwined. They struggle to hang on. And it isn't long before one comes out of the water with his member raised. That's what the game is for. So anyway, Gaudet uses the uncontrollable response to shame the first who responds with an erection. That is what proves they are brutes, he says, and have not the power of reason. Manning offers with the familiarity of an oft-repeated speech. A white man, knowing he would be beaten for it, would not be able to get an erection. That boy is then brutally beaten with a stick, which is never far from him. If he can find the boy's mother, so ultimately, when he starts beating these boys, he himself gets an erection from the beating. Then he goes to find the boy's mother, and if she's pretty, she will pay dearly for rearing an unnatural child. So he'll either beat or rape her. For his son, getting an erection after being made to frolic in the water with other young boys. This is the kind of shit we're talking about and what we're dealing with. But hey, Rogus son, are you there, brother?
Peace to you, Doc. How goes with you?
All is good. Let me turn off my, I got something going on, man. Got the sound coming through my TV. But go ahead, my brother. Holler at me.
Man, this is, it brings to mind something that I've been thinking about lately as far as Black people's perspective, ability of being able to assess, I guess, threatening measures, you know what I'm saying, threatening conditions, unfavorable things. Like take this in position. This makes you have to judge the character of the pilgrim, right? And we already understand that in our community, that's one of the things that they try to stay away from. They don't they don't like judging pilgrims too harshly, you know what I'm saying? Hence why a lot of people tend to avoid the history. That'll make me mad. Yeah, mad at who though? You know what I'm saying? Because I think they tend to project themselves into having to be, well, you do have to, you know what I'm saying, get into the mindset of being victimized in order to get to the empathy of it. But that's what I don't think a lot of people are seeking to get to the empathy level of it. You know, you got pilgrims that try to, you know, shy away from the talk, shy away from the speech, and it's like, well, can we take into consideration if there is an overall solution that is being set? We have to understand all the factors involved, right? Or
Right.
is that everyone is actually just cool with the past, you know, being sanitized as they attempt to in these present days? Because I take it this is something that is going to, if that bill gets passed, you know what I'm saying, with I forget what is it, they're looking to take out critical race theory, and I take it that this would fall on the pantheon.
So the bill is seeking to get rid of critical race theory?
I believe so.
And look, all I can tell you is, you know, as far as I'm concerned, I think that, you know, this is a product of contemporary intersexual theory, and it's been taken too far. And we've not had these conversations in a way that need to be had, in the way that the civil rights leaders of the past had these conversations. Right now, it's a lot of shaming and guilting. And unfortunately, this is going to have a negative impact on black men, because what you're going to do is you're going to argue, or what they're trying to do is to say that, you know, all of this happened in the past. We're not responsible for what our ancestors did. There is no racism now. Just get out there and do it on your own. Okay? That's the conversation right now.
But if that's the case, then it has to be about who's judging the possible parallels within reality. If there are cultural character parallels present, then they can be observed and analyzed, and then be judged upon. I mean, that's just science.
But you know, the deepest thing to me is the black people don't want to deal with it, because you got a few black people who feel like they're doing a grand. They feel like they're in a good position. So they don't want to have conversations about this, because, to be quite honest, it would make them have to deal with feelings of inadequacy that I don't think they're ready to deal with yet. Because a lot of men like to imagine themselves, especially even in this space, they like to imagine themselves as alpha men. Like I did a show the other day, and just a case in point, I did a show the other day talking about the Greenwood bombing, right, the Tulsa massacre. And then there was a brother who ultimately said that wouldn't happen to me. It sounds like y'all scared just for even having a discussion about it. But I want you to think about this. If you're being bombed, what is going to be your response to that?
Fright immediately.
But how do you even respond to it in kind? Like, say so I mean, the response was, this wouldn't happen today. This could not happen today. And my understanding about historical reality is, why wouldn't it be possible that it could happen today? How could it not? Let me explain something, right? And I try to tell people this. America is the most powerful military force on the planet today. Okay? Period. They have missiles. They have aircraft. They have drones. They have infrared technology. Okay? These people have incendiary, fragmentary, and impact grenades. These people have tanks. If they came to the hood, what the fuck would the people from the hood be able to do, man? I'm just being honest. And then we're so disjointed, don't have any idea about how to unite and get over anything other than by being united as crabs in a bucket. What the fuck would our response be to something like that?
More than likely, it's just gonna be fear right off the bat. But you gotta understand that level of engagement is primarily utilized outside of domestic territory. You know what I mean? Domestic, they're gonna have to be a whole lot more strategic than that. And the fact that the eyes of the world weren't on them back in the 1920s. Like, I'm from Tulsa, and they didn't teach us nothing about it. You know what I'm saying? But it was energy around to let you know that something went down. So if you went looking, library and stuff, and you can find out some stuff. But people never talked about it. And in an aspect of it possibly happening again, they're like, oh no, it won't happen again. It won't happen again. It was either or. They were either detested pilgrims or they was on the side of, you know what I'm saying, Cindy Lou Who. You know what I'm saying? Trying to hold hands and sing around the tree, pray, 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 everything be good with Jesus. But the thing is, what they leave out is assessing the character. So, you know what I'm saying? When I was young, I had a deep love, deep hate, or deep love hate for pilgrims, you know what I'm saying? But eventually I had to look at it like, okay, these are threatening situations. Why is it that associated with these pilgrims, Black people will not take an adequate threat assessment? And it doesn't have to be judgment, but that's the thing. They fear that they're going to have to judge, but they know subconsciously they feel like they want to judge swiftly. And so I really think it's a big issue as far as with the religious programming, and it, you know what I'm saying, runs or conflicts into their natural human responses that's supposed to be reflexive. And they feel that, but then, you know what I'm saying, there's a tug of war with that. And most of the time, unfortunately, you know, they choose to yield to the program.
But damn, it's almost as if today, I just think Black men, you know, to be quite honest, are delusional to the extent to which they think that they're alphas. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to men. I think you should strive, you should push to be the best you can be, right? But knowing about the past and knowing the position you occupy presently within the contemporary culture in which you live, how can you declare yourself to be this badass alpha? You die earlier than everybody else. You can't read. You get put on a school to prison pipeline. You get shot extrajudicially in the streets. You get manipulated by your own population, whether male or female, on this account. You're the most incarcerated group of people in the world. And you sit back and you can see your brothers, but you want to distance yourself from them and say, well, I'm not like one of them niggas.
Right.
Because I'm superior, I'm superlative in relation to these niggas.
And no connection to a clan. Alpha with no clan. Every other alpha in existence is so because of clan connection. But
you can't be an alpha by yourself.
Individual alpha is
You have to be an alpha in the context of a community. But then when you start looking at the context in which a person declares himself to be alpha within a community, then it comes to be perfectly honest, the preacher, the pulpit demagoguery part of the so-called appeal of being an alpha.
Right.
So you can talk a good game, you can put on a suit, you can talk a lot of shit, but what can you do to change or improve the objective conditions in which you live and you exist? That's what I'm getting at. I'm just being honest. I mean, how can any Black man in America, the United States, I can see in Africa, Ghana or Gambia or one of them nations, because it's primarily Black and they got Black leaders there that actually adjudicate disputes and shit like that. Like they run it, okay? What the fuck do you run here, man? In this land, like what do you run? What do we run in this joint? But I'm not trying to disparage Black men. I'm just saying there's a lot of delusion going on as far as I'm concerned.
Agreed.
Guys, and they think masculinity in and of itself is just being able to talk shit and curse people out and beat people up. But you can't beat up the motherfuckers who the real alphas. That would determine if you're an alpha, to be able to beat up the motherfuckers beating everybody else up and beating up your people. I'm just like
the thing is, but see, that don't get support because, all right. So this is my thing, right? You join the military, you do all the work that they want you to do, and you get labeled a hero, right? And in that regard, it shows that you're only just supposed to, turn the marshalness on and off. You're not supposed to think about it. You're just a war bot over there, fulfilling commands. And when you get back here, you're not supposed to utilize none of your training of learning how to discern threats and and complications of safety and peace and everything. You're not supposed to use none of that here, and then see how this nation interacts with your sector of society, and just okay, yeah, it's all good. You know what I'm saying? And people actually fall into like black vets. Black veterans are a joke to me, walking around with that hat on and all that shit. Yo, hold up, wait a minute. You've been over here, you've done this, you've done that. But when you start talking about our own people over here, then what do they say? All right, they either tell you, okay, well, join the police force or whatever. My thing is, well, my views don't align with the police force. None against them, but my views don't align with them, and I still wish to be able to, within my human right, protect my people how I think they need to be protected. Because obviously the laws of this land and the citizenry of our people don't really mix up.
But here's the compounding problem though, right? So you got a hodgepodge of different people from all over Africa, primarily West Africa, but maybe about 5 or 6 areas. Okay? But some of these people didn't even speak the same language. They didn't have the same pantheon of gods. Some of these people, were Muslims. Some were, Yoruba. Some, were whatever. Who knows? Okay, because we don't even get taught it.
Right.
We don't even, we don't even learn it. Okay, so here we are, this disjointed people who have all of these problems, who are behaving like crabs in a bucket. Then we have to begin to think about one another collectively. Now we did do it, and there was a urge. A compelling nudging, on the behalf of black nationalists, like people like the leaders of the Black Panther Party, even the members of the Civil Rights Movement. But something went foul. We don't even perceive ourselves as interrelated and interconnected and having a unified vision for the future. It's just everybody out for their goddamn selves.
Yeah.
And people have bought fully into, I think, neoliberalism. This is where we are, man. This is where we are. I got another brother. Don't leave. I'm just gonna bring him in. What's up, Charles, man? How you doing, brother?
Hey, what's up, bro? How you feeling?
Hey, what's going on, man? Turn your YouTube down. You're a veteran now, man. You should know better than this shit.
No YouTube here. But
Oh, okay. I heard a
that was
double
my
up.
son.
Okay.
He's turning 14, so the boys get more baritone.
Okay.
So this is where I do disagree. Black people should join the military and police department because that's the closest thing to direct and quick power you could get. And for the longest time when I pushed the Gray Faulkner Initiative, I had pushback against it. And it was from a lot of dudes who said you shouldn't join the white man's military. But historically, this was your military before it was theirs. They weren't fighting. And
that's a technicality, bro.
That's not even a technicality.
That is a technicality. How can we claim that's almost like the alpha stuff Doc was talking, bro? Wait a minute. You really gonna claim the United States military?
Hold on. Let's be respectful though. We're gonna be respectful about this. But
you would have got to civil rights if it wasn't for the men in the military.
So I get. So what I understand Charles to be saying is, okay, look, you can get training from the military, and you could utilize it in order to leverage your power within what's occurring in your immediate, vicinity or your circumstances. Case in point, a lot of people talk about the civil rights movement and the freedom riders and the nonviolent, coordinating committees and all of that, right? But they very rarely, if ever, mention the deacons of defense,
right,
which prevented, in a great variety of instances, protesters who were protesting nonviolently. It prevented them from actually being gunned down because there were men there with guns, and if something was to pop off, they were there ready to shoot. Okay. Now, but at the same time, I understand roguish the billmongers, roguish. I don't know if you're roguish the billmonger.
Yeah.
I assume that you were, but the point is, he's making is we know that the European or the United States military goes about and commits acts of atrocity as it pursues its imperialistic objectives throughout the world. So how can we be part of that? You know, how can we make ourselves a part of this process that exploits and subjects others to violence throughout the world? And I think that's the tension, you know, that exists. But let's get it straight.
Now, I'm not against us joining the military. No. My thing is once that character switch occurs, because if you've never been outside the United States, then you join the United States military and you go to a foreign land, you get a world view that you never had before. And the very first thing that you understand is racial power dynamics.
You get a lesson learned just traveling outside the United States, period.
Fact.
Doesn't have to be the military. I've been in the military for 10 years, 18 months in Iraq. Like, so, been a police officer for 14. See, the problem is this, is that too many people want a magical way to power. You know, if nobody's going to give you power, you have to take it.
True indeed. I mean, at the end of the day, they say power concedes nothing without a demand. You know, that's Frederick Douglass right there. And but it just seems like this is what power is to black people today: making money,
right,
having a good job, being a corporate slave. That's what being like a masculine man is today. Being able to, you know, show people that I got bread, I got guap, moolah, I got the bag. That's masculine today.
That's the problem, Professor. And I forget what the other guy's name is.
Roguish.
This is the problem. We never had a defined statute or code of conduct for a rite of passage for young black men to define masculinity for ourselves. And when we look at masculinity in the black community for the last, 40, 50 years, it's been off the whims of women.
Agreed.
It has been manly. Think about it. I have no qualms, you know, young black men getting their military service and getting that money for the VA and getting the housing, getting the education, saving up their money and their staff. We need people in the police, just like we need people in STEM and upper academia like DG and Dr. T.S.on and others. We need so many people to build such a layer. It's going to be a protective force for you. How is it that we have such an issue with black men being incarcerated, but you don't see more police from your area? You don't see more state's attorneys to make this shit fair. You don't see more lawyers, defense attorneys defending these brothers from being locked up off of something that would normally just be a citation.
Right.
But that promotes navigation, though. The whole thing that promotes navigation, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it doesn't yield into a change of character worth. You're just melding yourself right on along with the system that's stinging the hell out of everybody.
You got to ask yourself this, right? Were you prior service?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know the military doctrine. If you don't command the land, the sea, and the air, you must do what? You must infiltrate.
Mm-hmm.
Take it for what you're in. I.e., look what the Asians are doing. I.e., every time you go to a gas station, you pretty much are looking at like a Arabic face. You're looking at so many people who got control of a certain sector of business. What the fuck do we control? Violence.
Yeah.
Even though white people are the architects of that shit, so we can't even claim that.
Well, you know, the way I look at it, like this is what alpha is to me. This is what would make black men in the United States alpha. If it was the case that something like the Great Faulkner Initiative was put into place, okay, devoid the continuation of racism or internalized racism, okay, which is black people going along to get along. Switching the game up at the end, you know, in the end, because, okay, I got the bag now. I'm comfortable now. It's no longer time for me to round up my people and to uplift them. Okay? Because in the past, it seemed like to me, at least you had leaders in the black community who were willing to stay the course, even if it led to death. Now you got people who being scrutinized for misappropriation of funds, and they just say, I'm done with this shit. I'm going to hide and conceal myself in corporate America. The leaders of the past didn't have this kind of shallow orientation towards what their objectives and their goals were. That's not how it was. If we had the power of life and death, we were sitting in these judgeships. Okay? We were writing some of these laws. We were actually being statesmen. If we actually control some of these ports, some of these shipping yards, some of these chemical refineries and oil refineries, some of these power plants, then we can say, okay, we're being alpha. We're running shit. But you know what? That's why the story of Tulsa is important. Because we had begun to do that immediately after slavery. It didn't take long for black people to become thrifty and industrious. Because we're the ones who built this shit anyway. We had the skills. We were the ones who were doing all the work for the massa. Okay? When the massa needed some hooves, on his horse, who did it? If some work needed to be done, carpentries, masonry, who was doing it? The slaves were doing it. Okay? But immediately after that, these folks said, no, it's not going to happen here. All of this progress for black folks, we got to shut this shit down. And they used black misandric aggression in order to justify it. A black boy assaulting a white girl, subjecting her to what they already had subjected black folks to, male and female, for damn near a century or more. This is the issue. And so, look, our history is tragic. And the question is whether we can overcome it. But you can't overcome it if you can't tell the truth about it, and you can't have an open and a candid conversation about it. And you can't really actually move past it if everybody's playing the oppression Olympics and they're not looking to the future about what to do. That's just that's my 2 cents in it. I don't have all the answers. I'm just one individual. I just want to have the conversation. But it's important to know that this is not something that just happened to black folks either. Like, I'm not trying to be ignorant. Recently, during the Iraq War, you were there. Okay? You know what happened to Abu Ghraib, right? Did you hear about it?
Abu Ghraib, is that when the soldiers was assaulting them dudes?
The
they were sexually assaulting Islamic and Muslim captives, forcing them to eat pork, making them drink alcohol, making them sodomize each other to masturbate in front of women soldiers. There were even pictures where they had female soldiers standing on top of the backs of these captives in dog chains.
Right.
And one of the things that goes along with conquest, particularly for these people, is sexual humiliation. Now, I don't know, I can't speak to what happens elsewhere in the world.
Same thing happened in Thailand. Same thing happened in Indonesia. You go anywhere around the world and ask them about the history of the United States military in there, and they'll say, oh, GI. They all got story for GI. And in that regards, oh yeah, a whole bunch of ill things going on sexual-wise with children, the family. Yeah. So the thing is, you realize that you're interacting with a cultural character. It's a cultural dynamic. It's not just as general as the military. It's more along the line of, oh, this is their military. Oh, okay. Oh, I get it now. I understand. I thought it was the military. Nah, it's theirs.
Yeah, I mean, so Abuki Cabal says there are also myths, and I can believe that there are. Okay, I believe that there are myths, and I believe that there could be propaganda. Talking about this, I believe that. But at the same time, we got pictures from Abu Ghraib. All you got to do is go online, look up ABUGRAIB, and you're going to see pictures.
Oh yeah, that shit was being from craved ass white boys and white girls. It's something about them. They're just sick.
But that's the thing. If those are the ones that are of the ranks, how is it of any honor to be in ranks with them then? In the campaigns that they partake of.
That's why you got to take away from it. That's why we need to get people through college to become officers to take the rank from them. It's the same thing when I said about the police department. They're trying to, we had a dude, Brandon Tatum. I already did the fucking video about it. It's on my channel. And I said he tried to come out that black people wanted to stop police brutality, comply. So what the fuck you think black people been doing for 200 years? Complying. No, you take over those damn jobs. So Jim Bob doesn't come to Baltimore from West Virginia and then get a check beating your ass and sending the money elsewhere.
You get at their family so Jim Bob can get in pocket the way that a human's supposed to. Obviously, the state is compliant with this. Always has been, always will be, and that needs to be some point of moment in time where we make the decision based off of that, if it's so or not, and not waiting on some type of committee that they done and put millions of dollars in and be like, well, this is what we're going to tell you. Nah, the only at this point, you can say, oh yeah, they're hunting us. You can say they're hunting us. We can call it brutality or whatever. It ain't. We used to be dealing with brutality back in the day. Now motherfuckers just ended up dead. Back in the day, you get your ass whooped. Now, nah. They killing innocents. They didn't jump straight up into like mob territory the way they operate.
And then now we're allowing people who've never been a part of our culture or neighborhoods to police you. And I've told people this: no sense doesn't make. No sense doesn't make. They're allowed to make $100,000 to $200,000 a year, pushing agendas and pushing policies that are anti-you. A lot of people don't want to do the sweat equity. What happened was, like you were saying, BD, about being alpha. How can you be alpha but you're not willing to do the work?
And that's all I'm saying is, I've said this before. I'll say it again. I'll repeat it. Until black folks have the power of life and death over other black folks, there is no alpha. I'm just being real. Like, if you don't have the power to say, okay, what you're doing is wrong, you continue to do it, I'm gonna put you in behind bars, or either I'm gonna execute you. That's power. That's what alphas in nature do.
Facts.
I mean, am I wrong about this? Alphas don't go out and just acquire resources and that's it. Because when you acquire resources, other people want them, so you have to defend them. Okay? Period. That's just the way the world works. So I just, this is what I see. I see a group of men who've come to understand their own masculinity in terms of their jobs, their professions. Thank you, Low End Theory. White folks make money, yes, true, but that's not the only component that, if you want to consider them to be alphas, if they dominate the culture, that's not the only component that makes them alphas, although that is a component. It is one. But, I mean, they don't just make money so they could, demonstrate their fitness for women. They're in a quest for power for real. They're not doing this shit. They're not making cash so they can show off and go buy out the bar or some shit and have some sort of Negro, jubilee. That's not what they're playing for keeps, bruh. They're not trying to show you, look at my chain, look at my rims, look at my little house here or there. They're like, how can I corner an entire market? How can I, control the economy? That's the type of shit they're doing.
But
They're
Doc,
like, okay, how can we control land masses?
you gotta take into consideration the high possibility that some of those, you know what I'm saying, slavish characteristics have become somewhat cemented. Because I mean, you know, if that is the environment that one is in, and that's the environment that they willfully place themselves in, then, you know, so they have to go through some type of neurological change to where that becomes their norm. And in the regards of how we're speaking, is more on the what if of the monolithic type of perspective, right? And yeah, things will help if we were a monolith, but we're not. We break ourselves up through the class levels, break ourselves up through the religion, you know what I'm saying? Whatever. So everyone, even though we all black, we all ain't living the same black life to each other, in the regards that the entirety of possible detriments of how society may interact with us. We still don't look at it as a whole, even though they might say fuck all black people and give it all to us at once. And we'll still break that up and receive that individually. It might be toxic or chronic or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. I mean, you know, the divisiveness, the balkanization, the fragmentation, it's here, man. You know, we're, you know, so Dollar Will says a selfish, rich black man is no asset. And I agree with that, man. I'm just being honest. You have to have a statesman view in mind. And unfortunately, we don't believe in institution buildings. We believe in the NHIC syndrome. That's the shit we aspire to. Like, I want to be that nigga. Okay, that nigga controls what? Well, I get a lot of bitches. If you want to know the visceral mind of black men in America, all you got to do is listen to rap music, man. Listen to Future or some shit. And I like rap music, man. I always have. But if you want to know what the visceral mind is of the average black person and what he considers to be doing some alpha shit, listen to what, you know, your entertainer class, because those are the only people who are really actually rich.
I mean, material speaks truth to people. Material speaks truth to people, and in that regard, I don't know. I really think it's an effemination. You know what I'm saying?
But look, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, go ahead, Doc.
Even like take Kanye West, right? That's a rich black man. Now recently he was, you know, lamenting about his not being able to enter into the fashion industry and to, you know, do what he wanted to do in terms of, you know, just having an impact on the world. Okay? But as rich as he is, what the fuck type of power does Kanye West really have?
He got influence.
He's got influence. Yeah. Okay, so you're part of the court of black folks who can go whisper in the ear of white folks and get some sort of what? A pardon, you know, a program or something like that. You know, but like, okay, take Jay-Z, rich black man, right? Yeah. What type of political power does he have? Like, you could take Paul Robeson in the 60s. That dude had more political clout than Jay-Z got now.
Right.
I'm just being honest. Or Harry Belafonte.
But it was based upon integrity. With Hov and all them, they're just, you know what I'm saying, trying to get in the club, doing whatever they can to get in the club.
And I ain't knocking brothers for having ambitions to get money. Maybe they have an ulterior motive further down the line. You know, maybe this is just a slow game and I can't see the forest for the trees. I can't see movement because the movement is you know, at a snail's pace. Maybe that's just what it is. But I'm just looking at like what white folks control and what they have ambitions for and what we have ambitions for. I'm just saying, like, think about it.
What those ambitions are created. Like, okay, so you said Hov now, right? So the fact that what they present is permitted to be culture. right? And it's permitted to actually monopolize black culture, you know what I'm saying, being presented to the world. So in that regards, it really just takes a different perspective of engaging the culture for the length to where it actually becomes the norm. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, the material that they show, they put the flash and pizzazz to it, as most devs said, they overdo it, add the fire and explosion to it. You know what I'm saying? Keep people in an infantile mind state with all these, you know what I'm saying, bright colors and the money and all that, and the fact that, you know what I'm saying, they are actually show themselves kind of getting into the circles. So, you know, you got people like, I don't know, like Fetty Wap taking pictures with, you know what I'm saying, Bill Gates or whatever. And to the youth, that's going to qualify as success more than anything communal.
Right.
And we're talking about affecting the future, you know?
Right. And look, I don't have all the answers. I'm just looking at what I see and evaluating what I see. And, you know, I see a lot of guys, you know, even guys who have businesses. How big is your business? You know, you might have like a wing joint or some shit. You know what I'm saying? Like you got a prime rib spot in the city, but motherfucker, you ain't got Chris Root steakhouses and shit all over, franchises all throughout the country.
All right. And
that's a butter industry for real. That ain't a gun industry. You know what I'm saying? That's like entertainment and restaurant business. But I'm talking about black folks controlling shipyards and railway systems and, you know, like cargo shipping and shit like that. You know, these guys got like liquor companies and shit and clothing lines, and it's made them wealthy, but that's some bullshit. That's trinkets and gadgets and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, like infrastructural control is something we don't do. Like the Indians do tech.
Right.
This is why I do like, you know, Thomas Sowell, even though I don't agree with a lot of what he says about race, but at least he says this about like groups of people who are successful. They find something to offer to the world and they do it. And they get good at it through practice. And, you know, this is why I also like Claude Anderson, even though it's funny to me. He's just ironic in the way he sells it. I mean, basically he says, look, black people, man, like to play with balls and shit. That's what we do, man. We juggle balls and throw them around and shit like that. You know, like we don't do tech. We don't do oil. But black people did do it, man. You would be surprised before, you know, these people destroyed the communities that we did have directly after slavery. You had black people with oil wells and shit.
Right.
Banking industries. You know, I mean, but they came and tore them up into pieces.
But see, for us to build like that, we can't be comfortable. This whole system is Walmart right now. It's all Wally World. You can get whatever you want, a TV and a sack of potatoes on the same day. You know what I mean? I mean, really, if you look at it, what stops one from efforting for another? Most of the time, they're living their life, right?
But it's even deeper than that now, because you got to look at the way the corporate structure of America has changed from what it used to be like when I was young. Like, okay, I'm 50 years old, right? When I was young, man, you could go to a TV repair shop. You know, I mean, like, you could get, like, if your shoes, the heel became detached from your shoes, you could go to a cobbler and get that shit fixed. You know, you could go to a hardware store like Central Hardware and buy a wrench or a hammer or something like that. You know, right. You can go to Sears Roebuck and get a washing machine or something like that. But now, look at all these mom and pop stores that used to exist. And this is, I bring it up when I talk about Walmart. Now you have these big box stores. They've run all those mom and pop stores out of business.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you even begin to compete with that shit? Not a business, not, you know, because I mean, it's going, now you got Amazon. That's another business model. which put Walmart, Amazon, Target, and these big box stores and shit like that, man, they put a lot of people out of business, man. Bruh, I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, bruh. Used to be a store called Famous and Bar, okay? And it was another store called Sticksbury and Fuller. At Christmas time, man, you used to go to like Macy's and get your toys.
Right.
You don't do that shit anymore, man. You can buy a TV from these places too. You know what I'm Go get you a TV, VCR, small appliances and electronics. You can't do that anymore, man.
Right.
Because you got these big corporations that have driven all of the smaller businesses out.
So in that regard, with them driving the small businesses out and able to take over the traffic of the customers, are they in the wrong for being able to touch that human element within people as far as providing convenience or loving convenience? You know what I'm saying? The easier way of the route. You know what I'm saying? Less tested route or whatever. Is that can that speak to a further, I guess, natural detriment of the people's coagulation there? Because if you think about it, people could have showed love to the mom and pop shops, but conveniency won out.
Yeah, and look, it's just about what we're going to do with the economy now. And this is a larger concern than race. Because to be quite frank, a lot of these white folks, man, they think that they're balling and that they're alpha, and they're not either. I'm just being real. They got a better position than we do, but they're getting fucked over as well. I'm telling you right now, this is something that people are not aware of. It's called financialization. Go look that shit up on YouTube. A lot of people aren't even aware of this. Financialization. This is why you got all these bubbles that came up, in the past 20 to 30 years. The economy has changed. It's no longer the way it was. There's no investment in human capital at all. It's the buying and selling of financial services. And companies aren't investing back in their companies. They're investing in derivatives and what they call buybacks. Right. Go look that shit up, man. It's important to understand it. But I don't want to disparage brothers, man, and make them seem like it's hopeless. But there are forces at play, and we're not even aware of them. And we're yelling and screaming at each other, talking about I'm alpha and all this kind of shit. We don't make laws. We don't enforce laws. We don't sit on judgeships, like Charles was saying. And we don't want to reproduce white oppression, you know what I'm saying, and make the system. There's always a danger of that. It can happen anywhere. You see it happening in Africa now, where you got black leaders in control and positions, but they're not using their positions to do what's good for the entirety of their people. Right. So anybody can be corrupt anywhere. Okay, that should be a given. But we don't even have the capacity to be in a position where we're exploitative. We're getting exploited solely. And you might have a few tokens that are able to exploit, their position, but like all this alpha talk, bro, I just ain't buying it, man. You alpha how? The only way you can consider yourself alpha is because you are comfortable enough to live as a token in this culture. Now, if anybody who wants to come on here, I don't give a fuck what channel you're from, what part or sector of the manosphere you're from. I'm not gonna get mad at you and yell at you. All I'm just gonna say is, how are you alpha? You're not sitting at the table making moves about where this nation or your own community is going in the next 5 to 10 years. You ain't in them conversations. You're not sitting at them tables. You ain't smoking cigars in them back rooms, playing poker, fucking with the people that's doing that. You might got your little car, a little crib somewhere, a little television show. But you ain't making them kind of moves. The closest person to rap that I see doing this is either Nas and Jay-Z collectively. I think that, they're both kind of like doing shit like that. Right. but not at the scale that it needs to be done. Like man, these white folks get rich, man, and they fund entire business schools and shit. They'll have endowed chairs, the whole nine. Like they'll buy intellectuals and be like, okay, well, what do we need to be doing financially or economically within the next 5 to 10 years? Like, what come on, give us a report or an assessment to the best of your knowledge, and work on our behalf. Be a think tank thinker for us.
But you know what, Doc? I think black people want that. They just don't want it from black people. They don't want to. They don't want to receive that from black people. They want to receive that from outsiders.
Well, shit. If that's the case, we gonna stay fucked up then.
It is. I mean, it might be kind of black pilly with it, but I mean, from what I've seen, whenever you have those of us who are bringing something to our people in an aspect to where it should elicit change, different growth, some some proper worth development. If it doesn't include others who ain't black, then some people ain't really, they don't really want to rock with it. And I think that's why BLM did as well as they did, because they was including everybody. And so
Black Lives Matter had the right gender for the agenda.
Yeah.
It's just, it is what it is. I mean, black men are on, basically they've been rendered obsolete. We don't need you, nigga. We don't even need you to be a daddy at the home anymore. We don't need your labor. All we need for you to do is go to jail, nigga. Go to jail, nigga. Die quick. I hate to say it.
That makes the situation EBK then. I said I try to stay away from things like that. You know what I mean?
Die, nigga.
Die screaming, shit.
Die. Just and keep quiet while you're doing it. Don't complain. Just go quietly in the good night.
All right, then we get to be monsters then. All right, then. Hey, we can take the gloves off if that's the case. I ain't finna look. If it's like that, then all right, fuck it. You motherfuckers looking for me. You know what I'm saying? I ain't finna do no slow death with this shit.
But I mean, look, all I wanted to do with this show today was to demonstrate that, black slaves were not just bred and, for reproduction. They were sex toys. You know how, like, you was a kid and you play house with dolls and shit like that? Like,
yeah.
The girl, like, come on, let's play house. And here are our kids. And look, they, ooh, we gonna make them kiss. This the mama, this the daddy, and blah, blah. Man, they was making us do that shit in real life. You put his pee-pee, you put your pee-pee on her GG. In real life. And if you don't do it, we gonna beat you. And it happened to men as well as women. What is it? What is the mentality and the psychological disposition of a race of persons who have been subjected to those kinds of atrocities? What are the mating strategies? What are the mating strategies that result and ensue from that kind of culture? You got a lot of guys who think they're alpha because they can fuck a lot. So in a real practical sense, your sense of alphaness and worth is connected to your phallus, as the master on the plantation had you reproduce in order to make him money. And then you got a lot of black women who are comfortable with subjugating black men and putting him in, keeping him in this confined space. Just,
there's some heavy cards.
It's some heavy cards to be dealt, man. Yeah. And it doesn't even matter. And let me tell you, so a lot of people talk about this education. I don't really get too much into the dating shit because, or like interpersonal interactions between men and women. Because I feel like, okay, well, I don't see how you're going to change the individual drive of various persons in the black community. I don't see how you can really actually, it's possible to change the mindset by talking to people, but I'm just not convinced that I could change the orientation of an entire group of women just by having like a proselytization session, like a philosophy class or some kind. They're gonna be like, oh yeah, we realize the rationality inherent in the arguments that you're making, and so therefore we're gonna change our behaviors. I just don't see that shit occurring. This is why I think that you got to go after the policies, because the policies change the objective conditions, and the objective conditions put constraints on behavior. It's the same as saying, okay, you change the environment, you change the behavior.
Right.
You're not going to act the same as in Antarctica as you do in Texas.
Facts.
So I say, okay, well, yeah, like I could give a fuck less if a woman hates me. I only give a fuck about if she hates me and she got the entire state that's going to support this motherfucker putting a nail in my coffin. That's what I got an issue with. Now, if she hated me and things were equitable and fair, then I'd be like, okay, well, she can hate me, but hate me from a distance then. Don't hate me and then you know, have the apparatus of the state. This basically, it's set up and established to make sure that we're either rendered to social death or we experience actual death. It just is what it is.
It is what it is. But then when people like me talk, people think, "Oh, yo, he's over the top." You know what I mean?
I'm over the top of the top. You know,
yeah, I'm being nice. I'm being nice because I ain't trying to offend nobody on your platform. But
you can offend anybody, man. Like, look, eventually, what I want to do is have like panel discussions. Man, I'm gonna call that shit the cauldron. You know what I'm saying? The octagon. Call that shit something, you know what I'm saying? Where you can, you know, but all in the spirit of exchanging ideas, not insults.
Right.
Because too many of us get into the habit and the practice of just insulting each other if we don't agree with one another. You know? So, but white folks got institutions like that. It's called the Congress, the House of Representatives and shit, where they actually make decisions and put some shit into practice after they get through debating.
Mm.
And look, Raiz, come on up here, Raiz. He says, how do you have communities with no families? And that's the tragedy, confronting Western culture in general. Because the family's breaking down. So let me explain to you. So let me defend the black conservatives in this space. Let me defend them. Black men have an aversion to the left in this space precisely because black men in this space understand the importance of family life and the positive impact and externalities that has on the life of men and their legacy. And they see the left moving further and further into state-sanctioned interference into all aspects of personal life. And they're like, okay, I don't want that. I prefer to move more with the traditional values being espoused by the right. And I can't fault them for that. I understand that. But what I don't understand is the added component of it where, okay, well, you got these niggas, they just no good, they pookies, and man, these pookies were bred, man.
Facts.
These pookies are the product of their environment, man. And it's a lot of white pookies too. But see, white pookie on Wall Street. White pookie can do a line of blow and make a motherfucking $1 million deal.
Mm.
I know a whole bunch of white pookies, bruh. But they don't get pookie though.
Right.
They have their fun and then they get matriculated into the culture in general. They get to sow their oats and have their fun, go to Woodstock and all this shit, the what they call that shit, the Burning Man. They get to do psychedelic shrooms, cane, heroin, opiates, all that shit. And then when they get done fucking with that, then they get married, have a family, have some kids and shit. And they got like nice homes in the suburbs. And nobody calls them Pookies and Ray Rays and shit like that. None of that.
Well, that's a scapegoat. You know what I'm saying? This is because the thing is, his population or the white Pookie sector don't believe that he's, you know what I'm saying, poison the pussy population and nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? But over here, I think it's mainly some competition. Cats don't, they get mad that, okay, this is who these chicks choosing. It's like, but wait a minute, why not adjust to the type of women that they are then? Not saying adjust in their favor, but you have to make an adjustment if that's the way it go. You know what I'm saying? You got to ask yourself, what kind of woman is you pursuing? If she going after a Pookie, why you want her?
Exactly. That's my first. That's the start and the end of that shit for me. I'm just gonna be real about it. Like, why would you want to fuck with somebody and that's what they attracted to?
Yeah.
Like, why? And it ain't. It be okay. So here's the deal. You got some women who like that shit, right? They like the guys who with a little bit of thug or edge in them, or whatever the case may be. I like a guy with edge. I want to clean him up and make him, like Russell Wilson or some shit like that, right? Yeah. But look, at the end of the day, this is my thing about guys who got these arguments and complaints about black women, about the choices they make and all this kind of shit. I'm like, just leave these bitches alone then. If you, like, to me, that's the beginning and the end of the story. Okay, these bitches tripping. I'm not fucking with them. Okay, dude, I'm done. You know what I'm saying? Like, if this is what they doing, especially on an interpersonal level, like, the only reason I would be driven to a space like this is because of policies that fuck me over. Like, individual women who choosing to fuck different people, whatever the case may be, I'm like, I don't care.
Right.
Now, if you can take me to court and get me to pay child support for 18 years, I can't see my kid, then I got some issues with that shit. You know what I'm saying? That's what I got an issue with. I got my dog here, Rue Dog. He says, oddly enough, the white male superiority perspective is expressed in the sexual appropriation of the black woman. Yeah, but but insofar as she's a concubine.
Wait. So part of that makes him superior. Part of the white man perspective expressions.
His perspective, his perspective,
his superiority perspective. I don't know if I agree with that, because if that was the case, you know what I'm saying, black women would rate higher on the internet dating polls. You know what I'm saying?
But this is okay. So Julius, this is what. Here's the deal. This is how they sublimate this whole concept, right? About superiority and inferiority related to the phallus and sexual prowess. Right. To them, rationality is what separates men from animals. So the sexual prowess of black masculinity, them having bigger dicks and all of this kind of stuff, to them is representative of their black men's connection to bestiality. Not in a sexual way, but I'm right. talking about to savagery, physicality, not true manhood, which is sublimation, control over physicality. Right. So the black male is just a brute, whereas the white man is a thinker. He's a knower. He's someone that's able to exert influence and control over the phallus.
Unless it's a sheep in the room. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, shit, bro.
Hey, I'm from Oklahoma, cuz. My dad told me all the time. He said, "Man, we're gonna get a garden, but you got to put your sheep in the front yard." I'm like, "Wow, man, put a sheep front yard, Pop." Man,
look, I was reading. Well, Julius brings up a good point, because, look, white men, the very thing that, like, this is the shit that's just odd as hell to me. So we all know that immediately after slavery, during the era of Reconstruction, black men went from being Uncle Ben, right? Like like the type of character in Huckleberry Finn that looks after the boy and shit, like walks around doing everything, make sure he's good, to being just this, to being an unapologetic rapist, a threat to white women everywhere. Now, like, how did this alchemy occur? Well,
I guess you could call that being like that was one of the first signs of being on code, because they didn't only have to, you know what I'm saying, pull the wool over our eyes, they had to pull the wool over everyone's eyes. And the fact that, you know, such a poor attempt was actually successful. That, you know what I'm saying, that's the thing that grinds my gears. Just like, all right, well, yeah, you know, they be as disagreeably, you know what I'm saying, evil and sinister as they want to, but why is it that the unbiased public, if the public is unbiased, why is it that they go along with it, you know what I'm saying, very easily, and to the degree to where, you know what I'm saying, we talking on some, you know what I'm saying, Hitler Auschwitz shit, you feel me?
But you know, for one, it's projection. Because I mean, you know, the reality is they were actually raping men and women.
Yeah, yeah, the whole time.
They had sex slaves. They were violating black men and black women at their discretion. White women and white men were doing this. This is the story that gets left out. So all of a sudden, the people who were subjected to raping and violence become the rapists and the most savage. So they really, to me, they're telling on themselves. I'm just keeping it 100, man. The fear of what they had done being folded back upon themselves, bro. That's all that shit is, man. I'm just keeping it 100. You gotta, first of all, like, I'm being honest about this, man. I'm not saying that like all African cultures are just like romantic, and you know we need to have some sort of black nationalist nostalgia when things were good. We had like Wakandas and Zamundas and shit like that. That's not what I'm saying, man. Because I don't believe that's the case. I believe like African, anybody can be equally brutal. Okay,
Right.
I believe that. Okay. Thank you, Abdul Zahir, for continuing your membership. Thank you, appreciate that. But it's like these people know what they know what they did, bruh. And they know they probably wouldn't be able to take this shit lying down, bruh.
You know what? There's a video. I'm not too sure of the professor, but she goes in the history of the context of white trash, and goes through a pantheon of different contexts and perspectives that was applied to them in a lesser light. You know what I'm saying, by other pilgrims or whatever. And when you look in the audience, there's so much, you know what I'm saying, finger wrangling and twirling their hair and everything. Just like when you watch something with Jane Elliott, they can't take her delivery. And she's one of them. So in an aspect of them having to sit through an objective analysis of their cultural character, you probably get a whole lot of, you know what I'm saying, missing razors the next day or something.
Yeah.
That ain't happening.
I don't know, man. We just find ourselves in a horrible, terrible mess, and we have to at least try to think our way through it, even if we're doomed to live with the consequences of it forever. At least, see,
that's just my thing. In an aspect of thinking our way through it, when you have those who fight thought, like, okay, so we're talking something changing, something affecting the future, right? In what regards could we get the future to be to relish this information and, you know what I'm saying, put forth efforts in shifting culture so that a change can eventually, you know what I'm saying, come. Perhaps maybe there's a break in the generations to the point to where, you know what I'm saying, that which that gap that we thought was maybe smaller is actually way, way larger than we think. A chasm style problem.
Bro, bro, I wish I knew the answer to that question, man. That's the solution to the problem, man. Like,
real talk.
It's like the solution to the problem. And I dare say that, I'm in a epistemic, meaning a knowledge position to have it all figured out. Like, right. But I'm a firm believer in I believe we need institutions, bruh. Like, but we don't want to create them. We just got a bunch of motherfuckers that want to run shit. I believe we need institutions. That's what white folks have. The first thing they did was they established institutions.
Do you believe that black people are culturally over whatever that character element is within us that caused them to try to flood pilgrim areas after, segregation was in? Do you think that's still there, or it's eroded somewhat?
Black folks just want it better. Like, okay, so let's just be honest, okay? Living in the ghetto is a hot fucking mess, bro. Okay. You know this, I know this shit. If you want peace, if you want to go to a neighborhood where you won't see motherfuckers standing outside selling crack, looking at old people crazy and shit, if you don't want to hear booming systems during the summertime all the way to 3 and 4 in the morning when you got to go to work and shit.
John M.
Right. If you don't, Pookie and Ray Ray, if you don't want to hear gunshots and shit ringing off, and motherfuckers yelling, like indiscriminately and randomly, then you say, okay, look, let me get the fuck out of here so my kids don't have to be subjected to this.
Right.
I think that that was part of it. It's because that the ghetto is toxic. But see, that's you doing better for yourself. And then some people, they feel like that's all they can do. They're not in a position to lift everyone out collectively, or they feel like they don't have that obligation. Like it's best for me to start with what I can control. So like I'm born from an idea of Jordan Peterson, like clean up your room first. Let me get my shit straight. Then perhaps maybe I could reach back and help some other people out. But I got to deal with my immediate family. So a lot of people, they think that's how they think, man.
Yeah. And if you're solutional, if you're a solutional youngin in the hood, more than likely you're not going to get a lot of support.
Well, black boys don't get hardly any support at all. Especially those who have mothers that aren't in the know. And even if they are knowledgeable, like this is the thing that is really crazy. A lot of people assume that because you have a college education that you're really actually a critical thinker. But you that's not necessarily the case.
Right.
Because you could go to college and only perceive that education as a passport to a profession or a job, and really actually miss all of the intrinsically valuable information that you should have, been like coveting while you were there. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, some people are just good at absorbing framework. And
so, okay, so I got Julius saying some things. That's one of my partners though. So real life partner. Okay, so so Dollar Will says, be careful, GG. But I'm just telling the truth, man. Look, as someone who's taught and who's influenced young people's minds at the collegiate level, I can tell you like about half of the motherfuckers are not there. Some of them are there. I'm not saying like all of them are not there. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying most of them are not there. This is an obstacle, a hurdle for something else. It's purely instrumental.
Right.
It's not intrinsically valuable. It's not like, okay, I'm here trying to perform the great work of the organization like an alchemist motherfucker trying to find out how to, turn lead into gold. Yeah, that's not the goal, man. The goal is I need some money, some paper. I need a job, a career. That's what I'm here for. Fuck all this. If I didn't have to learn a lick of this shit, I'm just going to take the test and get out of it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm getting what I gotta get so I can get the job, and then I'm done. Fuck all this.
It's difficult for a lot of cats to try to make a discipline of things, and that's what would be needed. But then we come back to that we don't have the rite of passage that we should have had, as Charles was saying. Discipline comes from that, and acclimation to discipline, and seeking more of it. like personally, I don't think you know what I'm saying kids supposed to get into college until like maybe you know what I'm saying 2 years out of school, maybe you know what I'm saying like the way the Chinese do it. You know what I'm saying 1-2 years military service or something like that. You know what I'm saying, and then get in with a much more seasoned mind than you would at 18 or something like that. And you're not going to waste your time. More than likely, you would be likely to encounter a desire for discipline in there. You know what I'm saying? Seeking some intrinsic value within it.
But here's the deal. Okay, so look, dude, what I don't want to do is start blowing motherfuckers' mind with like how the academy works and how graduate school works and, about the level of indoctrination that takes place, in graduate school. But this is how this shit works, right?
Right.
So let's say, for example, you want to become a physicist, right? You pick a school, and Jay, man, you are free to get your ass up here, man, and to have this conversation, man. All you gotta do is come on in. You know what I'm saying? But okay, so this is what ends up happening, bro. They call it a disciplinary matrix. I believe education should be free, but here's the deal. So when you go into graduate school, right? You're a novice. You don't know shit about that discipline, bro. Like undergraduate work is like, I'm not gonna say it's absolute bullshit, but you're not an expert at all. You are like at the lowest entry level to gaining information to be a master in that area of inquiry. Okay, so what you do is you go to graduate school and then they indoctrinate you into what is called a disciplinary matrix. And who are you to object to it? Because you don't know shit about it to begin with.
Right.
So you have to trust that the school that you're attending is giving you the right information. And they might expose you to various theories or whatever. But most people, they only do what they need to do in order to get through the program. Right. They're not like looking at this program like they're going to be fucking like at the top of it one day. Like, I'm going to run this field. I'm going to introduce new ways of thinking into this discipline. And even when you get people that do that shit, okay, like take Einstein, for example, right? A physicist. They rejected his theory. They wanted to destroy this motherfucker's career, bruh. Because he changed, he created a paradigm shift in relation to the nature of reality itself. He changed physics. So at the top level of any discipline, right, what you get is philosophy. This is just what it is. I mean, It's philosophy in that discipline. That's why you got a PhD in physics. If you're a doctor of philosophy in physics, that's what it is. That's what it means, right? If you got a PhD in physics. Because as you get more expert, there's less agreement about what the canon actually is. And then you got people at the forefront trying to find out more about the way the world works or whatever the case may be. So you got these conventional agreements. But most people never get to that level of education anyway. And they just get like master's degrees and some shit like this. And they do what they have to do to get through it. Those people are dangerous because they think they know what the fuck is going on. But they just been introduced into a disciplinary matrix. And they're thinking within the confines of a box.
Right. They don't really break through to the discipline aspect of it. More along the line of it's an obligation that I have to fulfill in order to get that paper. But for it to actually become, I guess, a principle of character, really, because you have to start theorizing about what else could actually be the case about whatever is considered absolute fact.
But then we on the what they call intellectual drift right now. I mean, which is a great thing. It's a signal that we're actually communicating as opposed to not listening to one another. So if you go on intellectual drift, you're having a good conversation. But I mean, ultimately, and my boy Jay says, what would Black America look like with 3 times the college graduates? I don't know, man. But this is what I want to tell Julius, man. If you're a white boy with a high school degree, you're more likely to accumulate more wealth over a lifetime and to have higher earnings in terms of wages, because there's a difference between wealth accumulation and the wages you receive. I'm pretty sure he knows this. This man, he has a master's degree in economics. Okay, he has an MBA. He has a master's in business administration. Okay, so he's a high value man. Okay, this it is what it is. He's exemplary of what would be called the high value guy. Okay,
Right.
Good friend of mine, good dude. Okay, like my best friend, in fact. Okay, now I'm just saying, bro. White folks make more money, man. They don't even go to college, dog.
No, but the thing is, okay, so
It's not that Negroes don't know shit. Look, okay, the group, black women have more education than black men, but black men who do work still make more money than black women.
right. Well, I think
White men make more money.
Thinking I was speaking against college. I'm not speaking against college. I'm speaking against college too early. You know what I'm saying? Because most of the time, young brothers ain't not ready for it.
If they don't have that debt, if college wouldn't make you accumulate debt, because back in the day, let me tell you, in the 60s, you could go like, okay, my partner went to Mizzou. You could go to Mizzou in the 60s and not have a fucking nigga. You be like, okay, you just paid a Catholic high school tuition to some shit. It's done
Right.
in a matter of months after you graduate from it.
Right.
You're done. It was virtually free. The reason that shit costs so much money now was, look at the Trilateral Commission, man. Too many people were becoming educated. The 60s is a perfect example. They said it's too much democracy. There's too many poor and disenfranchised people, Chicano groups, feminist groups, black, radical groups, and these motherfuckers getting all this education. They reading all this liberal shit. We need to stop this now. Okay? We're going to raise the bar. We're going to require them to have these degrees in order to get the best kind of jobs. But we're gonna make this a career thing as opposed to like a open-ended learning thing.
Right.
Okay, so because if you look at history, the university system didn't become carved up into all of these departments until relatively recently, bro. Like the university system was a system where the core is the canon, like philosophy, history, maybe theology. Because if you don't know the major religions of the world, then you don't know what half the people of the world think in their metaphysical orientation, right? Philosophy, like everything is philosophy in some degree or the other. Okay, right. Even economics. Okay, this is the shit that's tripped out to me. You got white kids, man, who aren't even ready for college, bro. You motherfuckers not ready for it.
Right.
I'm just being honest, man. There needs to be an alternative to the college or the university system. To be honest, that's what I think. I think there needs to be alternatives to the university system, and then let the people who really actually want to learn in the university system go to that university system and acquire and attain that knowledge. But right now, the university is a business.
Right.
It's a business system. It's not any longer an educational institution as much as it is a business institution.
Agreed, and the thing is, when you're trying to approach youngsters in an aspect of college who don't have already an established understanding of it, it's too foreign to them. It's way too foreign to them, and an aspect of what they value at that time. If they're, back in the 90s, you didn't have to deal with social media being an influence on what you're going to do after school or even before it or nothing like that. So it was a much simpler time. But now with these youngsters, they got so many influences, and none of the influences are telling them really to look towards the future. Yeah, they might have they rapper that say some positive shit here and there, between all the, I'm gonna kill this nigga lyrics or whatever. But it's not gonna have the influence that it needs for them to positively affect themselves as a whole. It's just more along the line for I guess clout chasing amongst a peer group, and that's who they interact with more than anybody, the peer group. And so, you know what I'm saying, any instruction coming from outside, it's even foreign, even if it's within their community, let alone, you know what I'm saying, going to a college.
But I tell you this though, I'm just gonna be real, man. I went to college with some bad motherfuckers, bro. You know, I went to all black college in New Orleans, Louisiana, and it was some smart Negroes, man, at that school, bro. I'm just gonna be honest with you, bro. Like, I mean, like, just it was some fools and some ignorant people, and I was a fool my first semester, man. I had a 1.4 GPA, bro.
Damn.
You know, like I was like doing real bad, like, but I wasn't focused at all. I thought I could do what I did in high school and make it work for me in college, which is drink 40 ounces, you know, smoke the Chiba every now and then, and go get some chicks. You know, go try to knock something down. I mean, you know, that's what it was. You know, like, okay, so you know. Okay, it's the party. Let's go to the party. Let's, you know. Right. But then I buckled down. I realized that, you know, look, I love learning, and I always have been, you know, a bookworm. I've always been a bookworm. But, but damn, man, you know, it was some bright fucking kids. But the brightest among those kids, they already knew what they wanted to do. Right. Like some of these kids, man, had fathers who owned pharmacies. And they were going to the school of pharmacy in order to get their pharmacy, you know, their degrees in pharmacy or pharmacology, their doctorates in pharmacology, so they could take over the family business.
Right.
Not as somebody just overseeing the business, but somebody who could fulfill, you know, prescriptions and shit like that.
So they arrive with purpose.
You gotta have purpose, man. Yeah. You know, it's best if you know what you're going to do and what you're going to make out of that situation, as opposed to just being told you need to go there because you got to go there in order to be successful in life. Yeah. You know, it's different, you know, and, you know, this urge. And the university system knows this. This is why they're charging people so much money to attend these you know, these institutions, because they know that you have to come through them. They're the gatekeepers to a successful life. I mean, you know, at least to being able to have wages.
Right.
That move beyond you know, just being a blue collar worker. So they're the entryway into professionalism, and they know it. And because they know it, they charge you high premium dollar for it. They charge you top dollar for it, bro. And unfortunately, most of the money goes to administrators and not, you know,
not the faculty,
it doesn't go to the faculty. Yeah, it doesn't. It's going to the administrators, man. And the administrators, man, these motherfuckers make so much bread, man. It's ridiculous, and they're like police. You know, the Gestapo of the university system. So you know,
So in the regard of education, because I don't know. I always said that had I known how the world worked, you know, so I lied. I got my first job at 14. I'd have kept working at Taco Bell, saw how they was trying to move a brother up or whatever. Probably by 18 or 20, had my own franchise, you know what I'm saying, maybe $1 million, whatever. Got a GED. I would have dropped out of high school. Got a GED and then go to college, you know what I'm saying? With a perspective of, okay, this is what I'm gonna gain from this. This is what I'm going to develop and build from this. Not what I'm going to let them teach me in order to make something. You know what I'm saying? Because you had already put forth that effort. But the thing is, at that time, at 14, you didn't have too many, I guess, entrepreneurial influences around like that. I know I didn't. I wish I did. But with these youngsters now, I mean, they be riding the coattails of this, not only just social media, but popular culture. It's at a whole nother thing with them. It's not just entertainment. You know what I'm saying? It's actually become their lives. And now you have perspective where everyone now is either into video programming, you know what I'm saying, image editing, audio editing, or something like that to some degree. I don't think the element of education in that regard is going to be as I guess champion as it would over, you know what I'm saying, people just picking up a multitude of soft skills and being able to make them work, I guess, you know, in that little monetary corner of the web or whatever.
Yeah, you know, I just, you know, my only thing is, the only thing I fear is that, you know, you get a bunch of people who go to college and they feel like they're better than everybody else and they're smarter than everybody else, but they're really not intelligent at all. Right. They just were able to get through some hoops and to perform some tasks. And now they find themselves in positions, especially, you know, if they got all the right assets, meaning, you know, they're a specific demographic, a specific race, and, right. You know, they're able to, you know, fulfill a specific objective that the culture has at the time. You know, I feel like these people coming out of these institutions have been taught to endure boredom, not to actually think for themselves and to think critically. And, you know, society as a whole suffers from it. We don't have revolutionary thinkers anymore and people who are willing to think out of the box. You got a bunch of people who are thinking in narrow ways, and also they're thinking, you know, in ways in which, you know, basically falls in line with conformity to a particular professional ideology. Like, I mean, you know, these people aren't really actually thinking. They're on autopilot. But that, I mean, that's the human condition, bro. But I got a brother, Marcus Frazier. He says, from the title, if the men were fancied by a white woman of that era, they pretty much have been given a death warrant. If they refuse, white woman gets them killed. If they accept and get her pregnant, he's dead. Hey, bro.
Facts.
Man, that hey, look. And that's the catch-22 of being a nigga, man. That's the catch-22. Like, you sitting here like, this white woman, like, you better bust it wide open. You better do it good. You know, man, Dingo sitting there, you better like, count these white boys. This shit right here, guy, you got me fucked up, man. Miss Ann.
Come on in here after you buff up that shipper robe.
You like sitting there like, man, if they catch us, I'm dead. If I don't do what she say, she can tell I'm dead. Like, whatever, I'm just dead.
Yeah, lady. I wonder what the reparations. I wonder what the portion of reparations would be for that. Play that alone. They're like, oh well, we're just going to give them reparations for slavery. Oh, you don't have to really break that down. You know what I mean?
And but you ain't, bruh. I guarantee that at some point, it was some white ladies that had some babies. Yeah. It was a little bit darker than what they should have been. And guess what they became? House niggers.
Yeah, facts.
If they didn't just throw the poor little creature away, man. And but you know, I mean, you don't throw away, you know, labor. You don't throw away free labor. That's like throwing a car away.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's like taking, you know, like your brand new Apple computer, like just maxed out, or throwing a Benz away or some shit. You don't do that. Hold on, wait a minute. You don't you ever go mess with them niggers again. We're gonna cover this up, okay? We gonna put that little son bitch to work.
Man, look,
we're gonna have them do something now.
The fact that they could use that as their war cry for, you know what I'm saying, going at a brother, and it's like, all right, wait a minute, every brother knows that, you know, okay, so little black girls, they're mean, right? They're mean growing up, you know what I'm saying, mean as a young child, mean as an older person, whatever. And you notice how nice, you know what I'm saying, little white girls was, like, all right, really, really nice. But then you also notice that there were certain things within, you know what I'm saying, you get older. Like my brother used to, you know, deal with pilgrim chicks and everything. And he told me about the whole, you know, her saying the whole daddy thing. And I'm like, dude, you ever think about that? You know what I'm saying? The whole, you know, daddy. It's like, isn't that kind of telling of the cultural perspective of that? You know what I'm saying? Like, who your daddy now and all that. It's like this, all of this stuff had just been regular, I guess, considered to be, you know, some regular culture, but you didn't understand that it comes from. Just like Dick Greg used to tell us with motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how old I was when I found that one out, but it's like, yo, there's history attached to this, you know, and in that history, cultural character. But there are certain elements of, you know, Pilgrim cultural character that is not permitted to be placed under the microscope. Only oh so much.
Man, check this out, right? Let me add a layer of complexity to this shit that my brother here, Marcus Frazier, just mentioned. Because imagine this. And this is the twisted part of this game, bro. It wasn't just white women that had fancies for black men in Mandingo, man.
Mm.
You get what I'm saying? You saw the cover, man.
Yeah. Yep.
You get what I'm saying? Break out the gimp, man.
Mm.
You ain't ready for the gimp to be broken out.
Ooh.
You ain't ready. And we talking about real live slavery. We ain't talking about bondage for pleasure for, 30 minutes with safe words to escape it or some shit.
Mm.
No. We ain't talking about playing around with, roles of dominatrices and shit. And exploiting white people's fetishes and shit. No, we're not talking about that. We talking about, okay, come here, boy. I want you to fix it. I want you to fix it good now. I got some things I need to do. I got a lot of stress on my shoulders. You a slave, bruh. What you gonna do?
Whew. It's just, I don't know. I look, once I started reading about Nat Turner, it just made too much sense to me. So I probably been dead. I probably been dead. I don't know, man.
And look, Shonda, I'm not laughing at this to make merry or light of any of this. I'm just saying. Okay, look, I got comedic overtones in some of the things I say, but this is serious to me, okay? That's why I said, I didn't say, but I should have said, the G with the PhD, today the G stands for grizzly and ghastly. Because what I'm about to say is grizzly and ghastly. If anything, if I am laughing at all, I'm laughing to keep from crying. Because just imagine the precariousness of your life, your manhood, your masculinity, undergoing that kind of experience. And this is why today, we have an issue with people attacking our masculinity. This is why today we have this issue.
Facts.
So there's a whole different level of complexity that goes along with this. And it needs to be evinced. It needs to be brought out. It needs to be disclosed. I mean, we're comfortable with the narrative that, black women were raped, but we're not comfortable with the narrative that black men were actually subjected to rape and sexual assault regularly, or the threat of that regularly.
Right.
And it did play out with lynching and castration. It also played out with real life castration and like tying people to beds, telling them I'm gonna just imagine you got a slave chained to your bedpost, man. These are things that occurred, man. This is the truth, bro. Like okay, so I got another I got an article right here. It's entitled "The Sexual Abuse of Black Males." And it's published by the History Engine, the University of Richmond, Virginia. I might leave the link in the chat, or I might leave it in the description. And it's entitled "The Abuse of Male Slaves." And it's an account of slavery in Jamaica and the sexual abuse of black male slaves. Okay, so it goes as follows, and I'm not going to read all of this. Thomas Thistlewood, an 18th century Jamaican planter, noted in his diary 2 incidents of homosexual assault. For one of them, he recorded a report of a Mr. Watt committing sodomy with his Negro waiting boy. In slavery, there are many accounts of rape and sexual abuse by slaveholders towards their slaves. Many slaves tried to fight back and resist against the sexual abuse. However, that didn't always result in a good outcome. While it is known that many enslaved women were sexually abused, it is important to highlight that male slaves were also sexually abused by slaveholders. Now, there's various reasons for why, this issue is relatively unexplored, right? For one, we don't get pregnant. Men don't get pregnant when they're assaulted sexually. Women run that risk. It doesn't always happen, but it can happen. Okay? Not to mention the fact that black women's bodies were used as conduits for reproduction for slavery. We know this, okay? Right. But there's much acknowledgement about women. There's not acknowledgement of men. But they experience horrific sexual abuse under American slavery. And it's typically because rape is characterized under gendered lines. But now, the CDC and the DOJ have begun to talk about rape differently. It's no longer something that just women suffer from by being penetrated. It can be made to penetrate in other forms of, sexual misconduct through forcible means. And women are just as capable of forcibly, making men perform acts of sexual satisfaction or copulation just as men. I'm just here to tell you the truth, right? So,
see, I think that's part of the reason or part of the hang up. When you're speaking about rape with women, they pour into her perspective of victimization within it. Like they were such a victim, right? But when you're speaking about men, you have to look at for some reason an immediate cause of judgment of the source of the rape comes into consideration. They make sure not to focus on the the victimization. They make sure not to do that. So it's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, these were terrible times back then, and wow, I can't believe they did this. But with the women, it's how she must have felt with this, and everything that goes into the breaking of her psyche and character with everything she endured something. But it's like, okay, well, can't you take into consideration what black men had to experience? You know what I'm saying? In Jamaica, I mean, we understand why. You know what I'm saying? Why there's fire upon them, you know what I'm saying? The way that they roll like that. As hard as buck breaking was, you know what I'm saying, the culture out there,
Precisely. But look, a lot of people, think this is about buck breaking. And look, I get the buck breaking argument. It makes sense. It's a form of fear and intimidation to, make people get in line. But it's deeper than that. It's about reproduction, as I said. It's about psychic control. And it's just about the hedonistic desires of some depraved people.
Right.
It just is what it is. But part of the reason, I think today, while we have trouble thinking about black male victimization, is because, first of all, we want white women to be victims. The culture demands that they be victims. Okay? Black women say, oh, we want in on the victimization too. You can't leave us out. You can't leave us out of the victimization.
After all, we're women, so we count.
We all experience rape, sexual assault, domination in ways that men don't. Okay. Well, all I'm trying to say is, here's the reality. The same atrocities that women were subjected to, men and boys on plantations were also subjected to. This is just the truth, man. They had men as sex slaves and women as sex slaves. Men and women. White men and women. That's just a fact, man. We got to contend with it.
You know what? The fact that they go into about, you know, Black Wall Street and all this now. I wonder if they're ever going to the sex farms. If you ever hear the U.S. Congress, you know what I'm saying, taking ownership on that, you know, this was a bad day for the country and all that stuff.
But, you know, look, man, I don't want to, you know, bore people, man, too much. But, you know, at the end of the day, we have to understand racism primarily as a form of black misandric aggression. That's what, like, black male studies is pushing. That racism primarily takes place over gendered grounds, and the most vicious and the most violent expressions of racism bear down on black men's shoulders, or any outgroup men for that matter. If it's in Kosovo, it's going to be another group of men. If it's in the Middle East, it's going to be the Palestinian men, right? If it was in Nazi Germany, it's going to be, you know, males that are Jewish, okay?
Right.
That's the way this thing goes. This is a phenomenon that is concealed by contemporary ideology, you know, surrounding the whole notion that, you know, like, women are the most oppressed group. They've been held back. And I don't have a problem with women talk about, you know, the various forms of oppression. They can. But don't. Here's the deal. Black men are subjected to the most vicious forms of racism, but then people turn around and call us the white people or black people, as if we're committing atrocities against our own folks. And these very same atrocities are being committed against us in our communities every day. By women, by our mothers, our sisters, older sisters. Yeah, I mean, it's just happening, you know, but we don't want to talk about it because it's not popular to talk about men being in pain. You got to John Henry your way through everything. You're not a feeling human being. But nobody talks about Jewish men and tells them how much of a bitch they are for talking about issues related to themselves. Nobody does this to any other group of men but us. But maybe it's because those other men have found a way out of their oppression. Maybe they found a way to, you know, to get it together. I don't know. It's just maybe we don't have the wherewithal to get it together. Maybe we're just doomed. I don't know. I don't think so, but, you know, it might appear that way, but we got a lot to do, man. We got a lot of work to do, brother.
The possibility is there. Is just that the conveniency, you know what I'm saying? The whatever the goal is, it's going to have to outweigh the conveniency that society provides.
But this shit, well, America's, look, like Kara said a long time ago, you know, let me say something, man. You know, America's a great place to live, but listen to the knowledge I give. Control business controls America. Contra business controls America. I mean, you know, it's
facts.
Look, you got to get knowledgeable, man, and you got to become aware, man. Like, they'll have you on sleepwalking status around here, and you think you woke. They will, you know what I'm saying? Like, they will have you thinking that way. They'll have you on autopilot. But look, man, I've exhausted this conversation, man. I've been on here for damn near 2 hours and 30 minutes, man. I love you as a guest, though, bro. You're welcome anytime to chime in on my channel.
Respect, Doc. Respect. Much honor, sir.
You know, much respect to you, brother. And, you know, I want to thank everybody out there in the chat. You know, especially those people who found a heart to support the Green Gorilla channel financially. Shout out to all of y'all. Shout out to Gregory Oliver. Shout out for Shonda coming through. I know you usually watch Dr. Tiasan Johnson's channel, and I know you're in academia. Thank you for listening to us and as we rant and rave about some of the problems we have. Thanks to my good friend Julius Krause, bruh. You know, holla at your boy, bruh. Holla at me, dog. It's my high value man friend there. Anyway, thank you to Marcus Frazier for the beautiful super chat, man. I honor y'all, man. Love y'all, man. It's time for me to check out, man, and go bake this chicken, put this shit in the oven, man, and have me a good meal, bro. I'll catch y'all later, man. Until the next time. If you can't show me love, man, show some love to yourself, man. Peace out, y'all. One.